Gather round everyone and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions. Gather round everyone and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. he shrugs. They'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in cups. Confronting with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, a hoax. He says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with Miss Milky Strokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he crooks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, poll numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, poll numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, poll numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shout love today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, poll numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, poll numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
A self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, the animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason, unmasking hypocrisy. The truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, demos unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. We are not going to open up the phone lines for everybody yet, but they might open up for a few for our special guest, Stephen Ray, who will be on in a few minutes, probably around 8:15-ish or so. However, before that, if you want to ask questions, etc., you can either leave chats at the show thread at liberaldanradio.com or at twitch.liberaldanradio.com. I try and catch up with both of them as much as possible. We got Atrocious at every game, Moon Girl, and also Orvilleby over in the Twitch stream. So thank you all for joining over there. We got a bunch over on YouTube. We got Josh, Tim, Jackie, Steve from across the pond. My volume's off for the desktop audio, so you can't hear the "if it's not Scottish, it's crap," but you'll just have to hear my impression as well. Jolie and Aaron, both halves of the mod squad, are in the house as well. Lots of the J squad in the house today as well. Jeff from just north of Uranus. Let's see who did I say hello to Tim? I don't know if I did. You get said hello to twice. Petrazi, Roxanne, CR, Chad. Welcome all, everybody. Again, just a little heads up on, I anticipate, assuming that everything goes as well as it did last time, which, you never know. But if everything goes as well as it did last time, I would like to think that I'll be able to do a show Monday, but it might be a shortened show because I probably shouldn't be sitting in this position where I have to have my knee elevated or whatever. So Monday's show may very well be short, but I'll still try and get on the air. Especially because I want to be able to make sure that I can climb the stairs properly. But if for some reason I can't get up the stairs without an issue, if I have issues getting up the stairs, I should say, I'll make sure to post a video or whatever, or maybe just do a simplistic live stream on YouTube just using my phone. One or the other. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'd like to, try and not miss any episodes, but obviously my health is more important. And if not, we'll probably be back Wednesday because I'm not going to want to go without regular showers for that long, as you might know. Yes, or will be a new knee. I do have a new knee in my left leg. I'm just waiting on the new knee on the right leg, which takes place. I have to be there, fortunately, 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, as opposed to last time where I had to be at the place at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that was a pain in the neck. So check the email recipe for recuperation. Will do, Chad. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the best surgeons when it comes to like joint and everything. Joints, not that kind of joint, but he's amazing. I don't know what the exact number of total knee and hip replacements that he's done, but he's pretty on the ball. He's really good. So Let's see. A big hook. Epstein email release is going to affect the maggots with a scintilla of conscience. Who knows? Some people may. I mean, of course, if they listen to our, our whatchamacallit in chief, the Carolyn Levitt, the master manipulator, if they listen to her, then maybe they'll believe the lies that she's told today. We'll go over some of them. Again, there's so much stuff that happened in the last couple days alone that I'm not going to be able to get to every possible thing because I've actually had work to do, and I actually had to work late the last couple of days to make sure that I got everything I wanted to get done before my leave, so they're not left hanging at work, because I'm a responsible coworker and want to make sure that I don't leave my fellow coworkers hanging. Anyway, so let's see. Rocket said, say hello to Roxanne. I may have, I think so, but hello again, Roxanne. If I didn't, Big Hook again is in the chat. Let's see. I don't know how, but I know Trump will escape justice again. I mean, he's very slippery. He's very squirrely for somebody who is not the size of a squirrel. Squirrel. Anyway. Family went out today to go check out the, I guess with special camera settings or a special app, you can check out like the Aurora Borealis is far down here in New Orleans. So they went out to go check that out. I was like, I'd like to go, but I got my show to do. And especially because I invited my friend Steven to come on the show as well. And I don't want to say, oh, never mind, you're not coming on the show. Too bad, so sad. Anyway, so just dilly-dallying and meandering for a few more minutes until he does call in, which should be momentarily. But yeah, so what else? Let me pop this open and make sure I have this open. And I have another part that I'm going to be going over later today where, how I talk about how, like, me and Hal, folks like us, tend to be right more often than we'd like to be, because we predict all these things that are going to go on, and everyone's like, oh, you're crazy, and nope, they don't want to believe us. But I have another example of me calling my shot. I even have the video where I called my shot queued up, ready to go when we discuss that topic as well. So hey, Jackie, good to see you. One more member of the J Squad here in the chat. Let's see. Pam Bondi said there was no client list and Epstein acted alone. Can we start chanting lock her up for the very clear cover-up of child sex trafficking? I mean, everybody who's a conservative who tries to make the point of, why didn't you make this a big deal during the Biden administration? And my answer is simply this. It was during the Trump administration where Pam Bondi said that she had the list on her desk. Did anybody else say that the list was on her desk prior to Pam Bondi becoming the Attorney General? No. Then, makes you think, oh, well, maybe they're telling the truth. So silly us, right? To actually believe that they'd be telling the truth either about the list existing or about the fact that they would actually release it. Because one of the two is going to be a lie. Just a matter of which one you want to pick was the actual lie or not. So it's why liberals tend to be less happy, because ignorance is bliss, and well, we don't enjoy that. Exactly. We don't enjoy being ignorant, but because we're not ignorant, we don't enjoy being ignorant, but we also don't enjoy not being ignorant. So, let's see. It was sealed by a judge because the Biden administration was prosecuting Maxwell. Biden didn't interfere with the DOJ. That also is a valid point, because of the fact that, we unlike Trump, when the Democrats are in charge, the Democrats like to, let the Attorney General do their thing and go after justice, and not have the head of the president, the head of the executive branch, i.e. the executive branch, i.e. the chief executive, i.e. the president, easy for me to say, not have, any interference. But that's not how Trump does things. Trump is a micromanager in chief. Trump wants to make sure that all of his enemies are gone after. But there's a lot of them, and that number's growing. Hey, it's Teresa's in the chat. Good to see you, Teresa. Thank you for joining. Is anybody else new that I missed? I don't think so. So let's make sure that this is on receiving call, so we're good to go on that. Let's just move this up a little bit as well, just to make sure that I can get the full coverage of that, so I can be fully prepared, and while y'all also won't be able to hear the ringy until I unmute. So, see. Nice, Jeff Crow. Is that a real question on Jeopardy? So funny. Was I right with my answer, Jeff? I mean, yeah, Grateful Dead. Yeah, so there you go. Awesome. I was right. Yay. I like being right. Another thing about me being right. It happens too often for me to not be as popular as I am. I'd like to think that, at least. You know, you'd think if I were that, you know, if I can't grab more subscribers to the channel, you would think at least that I'd be able to, you know, if I was wrong more often, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm wrong a lot of the time, so therefore I'm not. But then again, there are people who are wrong all the time who have tons of followers, who are like 100,000s and millions of followers and tons of views. So I guess being correct and being accurate is not a key to success. That's why we have Donald Trump as president right now, right? Let's see. Or was I wrong with... I think I was right, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. Let's see. So it looks like we got him calling in right now. Oh. There we go. All right. So we are now going to go to the next segment of the show, where we are going to be inviting my friend on. I first met Stephen Ray at a bookstore called Tubby and Coos here in New Orleans. He was holding a writing class, and I had always wanted to write a novel. Years later, I'm still taking classes. My writing has improved, but the novel still remains unfinished. But there's many more interesting things about Stephen, which is why he wrote a book called Ozzy Me. Without further ado, let's introduce Stephen Ray to the Liberal Dan Radio audience. Hey, Stephen, how's it going? Long time no see.
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, and congratulations on this book being published. You know, the pictures of the book are, you know, putting it up right here on the screen. Ozzy and Me: Life Lessons, Wild Stories, and Unexpected Epiphanies from 40 Years of Friendship with the Prince of Darkness. So, so what, you know, what started you writing this book? Like, what got you actually to get cracking? You know, you're always telling us to just get writing. So what got you to start writing the book?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I always thought there was a book in it. You know, it's a bizarre relationship, and it's unique. So I guess I always thought it was a story that I wanted to tell one day. But like every writer will tell you, they will procrastinate as long as they can. They'll put it off. And also, it was kind of daunting because there was just so much material. It covers 40 years, and some of the stuff was just so overwhelming. I was going back to shows in the 80s and the 90s and trying to cross-reference. I had so much material. I had postcards and diaries and journals and itineraries. I just had so much stuff. So I think there was that issue of just not wanting to start. And so finally, it was actually a soccer injury. I got hurt, and I was in plaster, and I basically couldn't go anywhere or do anything. I was housebound, and that was January 2020 is when I started that. Sat down, thought I've run out of excuses. So I sat down and started, and then of course that was just 2 months before the pandemic. So once I sort of got in the rhythm, the pandemic came along, and then I really didn't have an excuse, because I was like everyone else, locked in the house with nothing to do and nowhere to go. So it was really 2020, I think, was when I got the first draft bashed out.
Now, hindsight being 2020, I probably should have spent a lot more time during the pandemic also writing my book. So I didn't take your lesson. But are the people from over there across the pond going to be upset at you for calling it soccer and not football?
Yeah, probably. That's all right. I've been here 21 years now.
There you go.
I'm not allowed. I'm bilingual. I can speak American.
There you go. And what did bring you over here to live over here?
My first wife.
Okay.
My American wife, we met in the UK. We lived there, and she wanted to come back to the States. So New Orleans was a city that we'd both been to before and both enjoyed. So we came here for a year. And 21 years later, she's not here, but I still am.
Yeah, well, there you go. And you have a lovely another wife, Alicia, who's a also a good writer and a good person as well. I'm glad to know her as well. And I got to actually meet your daughter, who went off to college this year too, right?
That's right. She's in London, so she's also becoming bilingual because she moved to London in September. So she's been there a couple of months now, and there's no doubt people are making fun of her in the student union for saying soccer when she means football.
And she's going to have to learn to pick up those extra U's, right?
Yeah, that's right. Honor and all those kind of things. All the bizarre spellings we have. Though actually, to be fair, she was adjusting already. I helped her with. Well, I don't help her, but in her last couple of years of school, she would ask me to look over essays and that kind of stuff. And I did notice that she had everything set to British English.
Nice.
So she did have those two L's and two S's and the extra U's and all that kind of stuff.
Now I have a little segment that I do sometimes. It's just called Unraveling Toxic Masculinity, and I will put that second L in there simply because it bothers me that we don't put that second L. Like, the rules are, if you add ing to a word ending in a consonant, it should have a second consonant, but for some reason, like, unraveling doesn't do it. I'm like, that bothers me. So I guess maybe you've just rubbed off on me. I don't know. Maybe some of that has actually just came through the writing classes as well. Learn how to write properly, right?
That's right. Money well spent.
There you go. So I know the book goes into more detail, but just maybe could you give like a little brief synopsis of how you actually first met Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, it was bizarrely enough, it was in Brazil. He did a concert called Rock in Rio in 1985. It was the biggest rock concert the world ever seen, a 10-day event. It was Ozzy and AC/DC and Queen and Rod Stewart and the B-52s and Yes and all these stars playing. And my dad had mentioned that he'd always wanted to go to Brazil, funnily enough. And so he said, well, find out about it, find out what's going on or whatever. And my mom wrote a letter to the Ozzy fan club, because obviously this is 1985, this is years before the internet and that kind of stuff. So my mom wrote a letter to the Aussie fan club and said, is there any chance you can tell us how we get tickets? Where do we go? Well, just tell us anything at all about the organization. And that Aussie secretary, the fan club, the person they had who was looking after their fan club, passed the letter to Aussie's secretary, and she called my mom. Called our house one night and was like, hey, if you guys get to Rio, if you make it all the way to Brazil, you don't need to worry about anything. We'll take care of you, basically. And they did. And so we went to Rio. They gave me a backstage pass. I watched the shows from the side of the stage. They took me on the bus, on Aussie's bus, back and forth to the venue. And then on the last day, Ozzy invited me to go have breakfast with him. It was just me, my mum, and dad, and Ozzy, just the four of us. No handlers, security, assistants, nothing at all. Just the four of us. And we were friends after that for 40 years.
And then you ended up going on tour with him as well. So, I mean, how did that conversation happen?
Yeah, so that was, I cut out of school at 16. I just stopped. I basically just took a month off and went on tour, and that was the same thing. They were like, hey, we're going to pay for your hotel rooms. You're going to travel in our tour bus. We've got you an access all area pass. And so at 16, I was touring England and Scotland and Ireland with Ozzy. And then, so I never really went away. Basically, for like the next decade, I would show up wherever I could, saved all my money, traveled around, saw the shows, and eventually they were like, we should give this guy a job because he's here anyway. We might as well put him to work. And that's what happened. So then I ended up sort of being a roadie effectively for Ozzy and traveling, getting paid to travel the world and work instead of being a fan. And yeah, so good times.
And I remember one time in the writing class, you had told us about how you had to write this, sign this NDA for some game show or something you were going to be on, and then it turned out it wasn't really a game show at all. It was that that Ozzy and Jack were going to be doing their world detour, and they were stopping in New Orleans, and you got to, you know, show that they hung out at your house, and then they got to, you went around different places about that. Wasn't that the time where you saw the burial, or the place where a certain horse was buried?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was bizarre. That was Ozzy told me about that. Who knew that? I still tell today that I still talk to people about that. I'm like, do you know whose horse is buried in New Orleans? Well, it's actually on a long river road. Actually, I think it might be Harahan, and it's Hitler's horse. Isn't that incredible? Adolf Hitler's horse is buried in Harahan. I mean, who
I mean, that is
knew
an
that?
absolutely bizarre thing that no one would ever know, unless you just happen to know it. And now the listeners know as well that Hitler's horse is buried here. Because I think like someone just picked it up, I guess, after the war, and they just kind of used it for a stud to breed other
Yeah,
horses.
yeah. So it was called Nordlich.
Hmm.
Hitler's horse that had been given to him by the German people. It was some fantastic, fabulous horse. And after the war, the Americans took it as reparations, part of the reparations, and they auctioned it. And it was a Louisiana doctor who basically had some sort of stud farm down here. He bought it at auction and studded it. And I think, is it the Derby or something that you'd have to check, but it's something like 6 Derby winners came from that horse's bloodline. So it's
Yeah.
like how bizarre. Hitler's horse is still has a presence, even just down out there off River Road. So yeah, and that was Ozzy. Ozzy I had to thank for that story. He was the one that told me about it.
Then, of course, this year you had the unfortunate, you know, where you went out there to go see his last concert, and then just briefly afterward, you know, Ozzy did pass away, and then so you've spent like the last few months, was it, over there living with the Osbournes and just helping them with a whole bunch of stuff?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was right. His last show was July the 5th, I think it was,
Hmm.
and we all left, and it was fantastic, and the show was wonderful, and he got, there was people from all around the world came to see it, and he sounded fantastic, and bands, everyone played for free. You got Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Sammy Hagar and Ronnie Wood and all these fantastic rock stars. They all came, and so it was wonderful. Yeah, and then like 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later, we get the news, and it was just like, it's just devastating. It was just devastating to everyone who knew him, devastating to those who worked for him. And yeah, we all end up having to go straight back to like 2 weeks after we'd all been together. Many of us hadn't seen each other in years. It was like a high school reunion in Birmingham, and then next thing we have a terrible reunion that none of us wanted. Just 2 weeks later.
Right. And, you know, I mean, all of y'all were, I mean, just amazing to know this amazing. I mean, I was always amazed with Ozzy simply because of the fact that, you know, you'd watch like the show, like the Osbournes, and you know he'd talk, and you know it sounded like really mumbled, and you know sometimes you have to have the subtitles to understand what he's saying, and then he sung, and everything was clear and perfect, and like you know it was like nothing, almost like nothing ever changed, like you know, and he was just like you know you could understand him perfectly, and then it was you know just such a great a great career, and you're definitely I'm sure a lot of people are envious of how lucky you were and how fortunate you were to be able to know him and his family for such a long time and call them friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, his career lasted 56 years. The music business is such a fickle business. There are so few artists and bands and singers that have any sort of career in music, even a career that lasts a few years, to straddle 6 decades like he did. And I mean, in the last year he did, which was before the pandemic, but I mean, we went to see him. We went down to Texas to see him, and he was selling out sheds. He's selling out arenas. He was in the 70s then, just about to hit 70, and he was still playing to 20,000 people a night. I mean, that was when at 70. He never really went away. Ozzy, he had this Black Sabbath, obviously one of the forerunners of rock music. They invented the genre, really. So he was with them for a decade, but his solo career was even more successful. And then when Sabbath reformed, they ended up playing stadiums. So he's had as far you've kind of got the Stones perhaps, and the Who maybe, and there's a couple of, if you like, heavier bands, rock bands, who certainly have had good careers. But I can't think of anyone with that sort of hard edged. To think that he's, the godfather of heavy metal, and he was still playing stadiums at 76. It's incredible.
That is incredible. Sometimes what I like to do with a little new thing that I like to do with my guests is I'll do like 3 questions with Liberal Dan, and usually 2 of them are related to the guest, and then the last one is everybody's going to get the same question. So, and of course there's no wrong answer, even if there's no answer. First one is, do you have a favorite song by Ozzy, and if so, what might that be?
Funnily enough, I didn't even want to really listen to any Ozzy after he died, and it's only been since I've been back here the last couple of days, and twice I've put on some old stuff just while I've been sort of pottering around the house. And there's a song off his second album, Diary of a Madman, called "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll." And I really love that song. I love that whole album. That was the album that I fell in love with. There's also a song, I really love the song Sato, S-A-T-O, and I love Diary of a Madman, the title track. So, but if I had to pick one Ozzy song, it would be "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll," which is a bit of a deeper cut. I mean, it was never released as a single or anything, but I always loved it.
And I mean, clearly, I mean, he's, with his longevity, obviously you can't, right? So the second question is also Ozzy related. Of all the concerts that you've been to, do you have one that stands out as your favorite?
The first and the last. The very first show I ever saw in 1984. It was the first time I saw him at a big rock festival in England called Monsters of Rock. AC/DC, Van Halen, Motley Crue. And he was fabulous. I mean, I'd been a fan for years, and that was the first time I saw him, and that was he was fantastic that day. I also saw, it was a show in Austin he did that was truly fantastic in '96 or '97. So much so he never went to bed. He was so jacked from the show, he never even went to bed that night. He stayed up all night. That again was a fantastic show. And then just right at the end, for all the emotional reasons, because even though we obviously didn't know it was going to happen, but we all did know it was going to be his last show, and he nailed it. He was fantastic. So that first and the last, it was a hell of a way to bookend, but that spanned 41 years and about 200 and something odd shows. So yeah, a good way to start and a good way to finish.
Wow. And then the third one, non-Ozzy related. Who is your favorite Beatle from when they were in the Beatles, and then who is your favorite Beatle from their careers outside the Beatles?
Well, I would have to say John Lennon during the in the Beatles, just because I loved Working Class Hero so much. Even though that was a solo stuff, but I liked John Lennon. I just some of the how dry, I guess, and sarcastic he was. So John Lennon in the Beatles, out of the Beatles. I don't know. I guess the only one I've ever seen live is McCartney, so I'll have to go with McCartney, just because he's the only guy. I was glad I saw a Beatle live, because I feel they did change music. So John Lennon, then Paul McCartney, which is probably what everybody says in that order, or the reverse order.
I mean, shockingly, mine's more George during, but afterwards I'm also Paul McCartney, and I was lucky enough to see Paul McCartney the last time he was here in New Orleans, and it was the week of my birthday, and he sang "Birthday," so that just made me very happy as well. So, so thank you very much for humoring me with the 3 questions with Liberal Dan. Is there any plans in the works for another book that you might write sometime in the future?
No, absolutely not. It's not as you know, it's not a prolific career move. This is only my 3rd book in 16 years. 16 years, yeah. It took, so I'm averaging 1 book every 5 years. And no, I really don't have any. Well, I say that I have an idea. I have an inkling, perhaps, shall we say, but it's a long way off. But maybe, but I'm certainly not not thinking about that just yet.
Fair enough. All right. Is there anything else you would like to say? I have put a link to the Amazon, to where you can get on Amazon, in both of the Twitch and the YouTube chats. So anybody who wants to buy the book, please click that link and do so. Support Steven, support the show. Anything else you want to add in before I let you have a good night with Alicia?
No, not at all. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always, anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome to. And hopefully the next time we do a writing class, my knee will be better and I'll be able to start doing it again because I have my surgery tomorrow. So.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good to see you.
All right. Have a good night, man. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, mate. See you later. Bye.
And again, that was Stephen Ray, author extraordinaire, a friend of mine, and you can buy Ozzy Me again. There's a link both in the YouTube and the Twitch chats. You support the show, support Stephen by buying the book. I was thinking about buying 2 books yesterday. I didn't know how many he would have, and actually offering one as a gift to one of the people watching. And that still could happen. Who knows? But if there's enough interest, maybe I'll consider doing that. But at the moment, I've just been so busy with everything going on. But anyway, big thanks to Stephen for coming on. And we will then go back to our regular scheduled show. Feet on the Dashboard says, I was more of a Ringo guy. Let's see. Kinky Streets, knee replacement hour. See, I had my left knee has already been replaced. I replaced the left knee back in August is when I had that procedure, and now I'm on my right knee, and so I'm very well familiar with the pain. Although it wasn't really 2 weeks of harsh pain for me. It was like the Saturday. Like I had the surgery on Thursday as well, and then on Saturday it was like, oh, terrible. And then afterwards it was just, it was soreness and lots of physical therapy. But yeah. Hey John, good to see you. But yeah. The Feet on Dashboard, reminding me of Ringo. One of the funniest quotes from John Lennon was, they asked John Lennon, is Ringo the best drummer that you know? And John Lennon's like, Ringo isn't even the best drummer in the Beatles. And I'm like, wow. But I mean, I would still love to go see Ringo Starr in concert, but he's on the tour that he's currently doing. He's not coming to New Orleans, and the closest place to be that's near New Orleans, like it's like a festival type thing where it's outdoors, so you don't know what the weather's going to be like, and it's like $200 to get on that day. So, Josh, could be worse. The White House staff working on both knees. That would be terrible. I would definitely not want that. Get Dr. Oz and RFK Jr. working on my stuff. So, awesome. Thank you, Jolie, for buying the book. Appreciate you for supporting the show and for supporting my friend. Anyway, so Jolie goes, we had the full series of DVDs in the Osbourne's TV show. My kids were obsessed with it, and they watched them all the time. They were 4 and 7. They also had Jack and Kelly toys. That's awesome. Moon Girl, they'll lay hands on you. No, I don't want to be touched by them. Who knows what you'll get. One of my best part of the Osbourne show itself. Well, I mean, the show with Jack and Ozzy and Jack, World Detour was, I mean, him coming here and then going to go see Hitler's Horse. That was nuts. But the other thing was just when they have the bubbles on stage, and it's like, oh, I'm the Prince of fucking Darkness. I can't have fucking bubbles, or whatever he is that he said. Just amazing. I'm the Prince of fucking Darkness. So yeah. Anyway, to Jeff, Ozzy was staying at a hotel in Springfield. We dared a guy to knock on his door to get him arrested. Ozzy invited him in for tea. We were pissed. Well, maybe y'all should have knocked on the door, huh? Don't have others do your dirty work. Because usually, what was the song? They're a fool to do your dirty work, but not necessarily be a fool if you actually get to meet Ozzy. Let's see. What other things I want to talk about today on today's show? Where's this thing? This stupid thing from the DCCC. The DCCC wants you to sign the petition to help block a third Trump presidency. Please check the box below to show that you oppose a third Trump presidency. I oppose, and there's no I support, obviously. Do you trust House Republicans to stand up to Trump and fight the issue? Absolutely not. But, We already have a petition to prevent people from, being a third-term president, and that's called the 22nd Amendment. We shouldn't need this, but the people you should be petitioning are the Supreme Court, because they're probably going to be the ones, them and Congress. If he actually decides that he's going to be on it, and then people start trying to block the vote, or block the states. If the states start trying to block him from being on the ballot, and then the Supreme Court uses the same argument they used for the argument against taking him off because he was an insurrectionist, and if they use those arguments, who knows? You might need to petition the Supreme Court, do an amicus brief or whatever it is that you might want to do to have that in there. It's a big hug. ELO fan. I had no idea how much Jeff Lynne helped them. He was considered one of them by Paul and George. Yeah, I mean, and that's probably why Jeff Lynne was also part of the Traveling Wilburys, so with George and, all the others who were part of the Traveling Wilburys. Funny story about the Traveling Wilburys. We're driving along some way, and I had forgotten who, and they'd even include, I think, Jeff Lynne on the list of who was in the Traveling Wilburys, and I was trying to think of who was in the Traveling Wilburys, and I forget who I was forgetting. I forget which one I was forgetting at the time, but they were about to actually start listing the people on the Traveling Wilburys on the radio as I'm driving, and my wife is driving the car, and we're in the car going, and they play one of the songs, and they start listing them off, and I don't know the order they were listing them off in, but they said, Roy Orbison, George Harrison, Bob Dylan, and Tom Petty, I'm guessing, and they left out Jeff Lynne, I think, but just as they named the fourth person, somebody cuts my wife off, and she's like, "Stupid fucking bitch!" So apparently the four members were Roy Orbison, George Harrison, Tom Petty, and stupid fucking bitch. That's the fourth member of the Traveling Wilburys. So that's a joke that continues to go on between Cassie and I, especially whenever the Traveling Wilburys come in the car. So yeah. But on last show, we talked about how there's the issue in Oklahoma dealing with the horrible rapes that took place, and the two victimized young women who are not getting justice, but kind of assault and violating consent and violating all sorts of laws. There is a case in Lafourche Parish, Louisiana. A 13-year-old student, a girl, was expelled from 6th Ward Middle School after hitting a male classmate who she said created and shared a deep fake pornographic image of her. Family, now represented by Baton Rouge attorneys Greg Miller and Morgan Young, plan to file a federal lawsuit against the Lafourche Parish School District. The incident occurred in August when the school year began. The girl's father and the attorney said the young girl endured bullying after the deep fake nude image was circulated throughout the school. So basically, a young boy, took a picture of her, I guess a regular picture of her, put it into AI, created a deep fake of her that was a pornographic image, which you would think would be illegal to do that, because that basically would be child pornography, right? And she was getting bullied about it, and apparently they reported it to the school, and they still let them be on the same bus together, and I think that's where the incident happened. This is why you need jury nullification, because if she was put on charges, if charges were pressed against her for this sort of thing, I'd be like, nope, she's not guilty. Sorry. Well, she violated the law. Not in my eyes, but this is the case that always happens when it comes to people getting violated, young women getting violated. We don't see justice about young women getting violated. Be it an Oklahoma rapist, be it a young girl in Lafourche Parish, be it, Epstein's victims. Nobody gets justice, and they always blame the victims instead of blaming the perpetrators. Hell, even today, I was listening to one of the larger talk stations here in New Orleans, WWL, and while the guy had the right idea as it pertained to, you should punish everybody. Like he was asking the audience to try and see where they felt as to whether or not your political leanings will affect whether or not you support the release of the Epstein list or not. And guess what? He was on the right side of it. He agreed with everything that I said, with the exception of the fact that he kept saying that all of these old powerful men, paid to have sex with these young victims, these young women. And I had to step in and correct him. And I was like, no. First of all, there were women, at least one woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was said to have participated in the violating of these victims. But no, these men and whoever else was involved did not pay to have sex with these women. These men paid to abuse the women. These men paid to rape the women. It's not having sex if somebody isn't consenting. It's an assault, it's abuse, it's rape. And I will put my foot down firmly. And he agreed with it, but he still kept saying the same thing afterwards. And I just was like, God, why are people like this? Because we live in rape culture. And again, another example of rape culture, we referred to the young women getting assaulted and violated as them being had sex with instead of them being raped. Simple as that. I don't know why people don't understand that it's that simple, but it should be that simple. So, anyway. Good segue there. And furthermore, let's say we do have, from the White House, the Democrats did release the White House emails or the Epstein emails, or more of them. And we can go over some of that in a second. But there's also, we finally got the 218th member of Congress sworn in today so that they could go around Speaker Johnson protecting pedophiles. And the media had some questions to ask our media manipulator-in-chief, Caroline Leavitt. And here she is posing or fielding questions from the press about many of the things that happened here.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong.
Now, we'll go over the emails in a second. But the emails absolutely do not prove that Trump did nothing wrong. But there are going to be people who are Trump supporters who will listen to Leavitt and say, oh, well, the emails must exonerate Donald Trump but they don't. They clearly don't. They clearly show that at least between Epstein and one of the people he's communicating with, was it maybe his brother, I don't know, or his attorney, but it at least proves that they believe that Trump knew and that Jeffrey Epstein could use this as leverage against Donald Trump. I think we'll go over that in a little bit, but, if she says it, it must be true, right? At least according to the MAGA folks.
And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out.
And I think the emails actually say that where Jeffrey Epstein says that he was never a member in the first place. So that could very well be a lie, right? Another lie from Ms. Leavitt.
Because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep.
That is not why Donald Trump, at least in my opinion, removed Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. He did it because Epstein was poaching the young women who Trump hires. And apparently, Trump made it a thing that he always liked to hire in his resorts lots of very young women. Because he likes young women. Maybe not as young as Epstein did. Who knows? But then again, Trump said that if Ivanka wasn't his daughter and had some very inappropriate poses, even with Ivanka. But, yeah, no. It wasn't because Trump knew he was a pedophile. It was because Trump didn't like the fact that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were poaching his young women. He probably viewed them as his property, in my opinion.
In this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS.
Now, some other places said that it might very well have not have been Virginia Giuffre, at least in some of them. But, you know, if you're believing anything that comes out of this press office, to the press corps by the media manipulator in chief, you know, you get what's coming to you, right?
CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed.
And yeah, Kinky Street says there's zero proof that this so far that is Giuffre. Yeah, exactly.
President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us.
Maybe because it really wasn't her.
Mary.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions on this. In the interest of transparency, why not just go ahead, release the full files on Epstein, get this all over with?
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you are seeing these documents that were released today, because of
a lot of the documents came from the Epstein estate and not from the White House. But, you know, go on.
The House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration...
Because they said the judge basically said, if I'm recalling this correctly, that there's nothing that the judge needed to do. They could just release them themselves. Like, they could release all this information themselves. They didn't need the judicial action to do it. They're just hiding behind that to try and continue to protect pedophiles. Because this administration, make no mistake, is protecting pedophiles.
This administration has done more than any. And
this administration has done more than anybody to protect pedophiles.
And it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party.
It's a manufactured hoax that Pam Bondi, the person who's the AG that Trump picked to be Attorney General, said that she had the list on her damn desk. That's the hoax now, right? The Democrat, whatever, that's the thing. They use a hoax for everything. Everything is a hoax. But if everything's a hoax, then nothing's a hoax, right?
Or now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care.
And as one of the members of chat clearly and rightly pointed out, that the Biden administration was not going to interfere with an ongoing investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. That's why.
Care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown. And this entire thing...
She's going to complain about people scoring political points and then try and score political points herself because she's a hypocrite.
Again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., and it is...
Yeah, but you're right, but you're wrong about why you're right. Simple as that. I mean, people might think that she's stupid for coming up with this stuff, but it takes a master manipulator to be able to come up with all of this twisting spin to be able to to try and get away with protecting the groper-in-chief and all of the pedophiles that this administration is protecting.
Not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning.
Leaked it to the fake news again using Hitler tactics. Let's continue.
Ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another...
As if there's a hell she's going. That's probably where she came from, 250 kilo ohm.
Distraction campaign.
Oh, good to see you, 250 kilo ohm over here on YouTube.
By the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
The only reason that the government is reopening is because you had 7 Democrats and an independent cave and give the Republicans all they want while getting nothing in return. But that's another issue.
Reagan.
In transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress?
Doesn't it show transparency that this administration is trying to prevent Boebert from voting to release, or trying to convince Boebert to stop releasing the Epstein files and for her to change her vote? Like, aren't we being transparent by not being transparent? Aren't we being transparent? Oh, wait, there's another part.
Whenever
Let's
they
continue.
please. Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show
No, you dummy. Well, I guess I shouldn't call her a dummy. I just said she's not a dummy. No, you master manipulator.
the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That is that's a defining factor of transparency. Having discussions with members of Congress about various issues, and I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the situation.
Doesn't it show transparency that we're not going to talk about the details of the conversations that we take place when we're talking about with Boebert? Doesn't it show transparency that we're going to hide that? Doesn't it show transparency that we're not going to tell you what the conversation was about, but that all the conversation was about trying to convince Boebert to not release the files? Isn't that transparency? Like, up is down, day is night, left is right, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
In the press briefing room.
Do not.
Yeah, so there you go with that BS. Holy crap. Like, how does she even, like, look at herself in the mirror? Maybe she doesn't look herself in the mirror. Maybe when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see her reflection because maybe she's really a vampire. I don't know. But the idea here, oh my God, is so ridiculous. Absolutely freaking ridiculous. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that in a second. All right. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was the Donald Trump was having a conversation with Laura Ingraham talking about the Affordable Care Act and the Obamacare subsidies or whatever. And they wanted to, talk about, Donald Trump's plan. And he's talking about how what I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go to an account where the people can buy their own health insurance. It's so good. Insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everyone's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually going to get to go out and negotiate their own insurance, and they can only use it for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. The subsidies can only be used for the insurance either, so that is out the window. But how out of touch is this idiot? He really thinks that an individual who gets whatever amount they're going to get into their whatever account that they're going to be able to use to as a subsidy to buy their own private insurance, he really thinks that they're going to be able to get out there and negotiate with, like, United Healthcare? That they're going to be able to get out there and say, oh, United Healthcare, I don't like your rates here, so I'm going to negotiate with you and try and figure out how much I want to pay for your services, or lack thereof. And then, because I'm on equal footing. Now, somebody who is a multimillionaire or billionaire might be able to get out there and have a negotiation about the type of insurance that they might want to get. But nobody at our level, at the peon level, nobody at my level is going to be able to get out there and have a negotiation with United Healthcare or any of the other health insurance companies to be able to say, hey, this is, I really would rather pay this than that. No, what's going to happen under his plan, again, and we don't know the specifics of the entirety of the plan, just this little trickle of information. But as we all know, if they want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, what's going to happen is that we're going to get back to rescission, where insurance companies can just cancel policies because overall they're just too pricey to them. So they can collect all the insurance premiums for a while, and then once it gets too expensive for them, they can be like, all right, we're done. We're canceling your plan. Despite the fact that you've thrown in all this, all the stuff when you were healthy. You threw all that money in towards them when you were healthy, and now that you're sick, they want to cut your insurance. The Affordable Care Act got rid of rescission. The Affordable Care Act got rid of pre-existing condition clauses, which were abused, like people not being able to get cancer treatments because they had a pre-existing condition of acne, or they didn't disclose acne on their application forms, and as such, they won't be able to, have their cancer treatments. They'll have their cancer treatments denied. or just their policies canceled because they will have done a material misrepresentation of their health or their health situation when they applied for the insurance in the first place. Or maybe we'll return to annual caps or lifetime coverage caps, where you can be like, oh, well, the amount of money that you've spent towards insurance, the amount of money that we've spent towards insurance, oh, you're done for this year. We're not going to cover anything else. How is that insurance? How does that work? How is that fair to the consumer? Or they say, oh, you've been too sick over the course of your life, so we're not going to cover anything else anymore. What? That doesn't work either. So while there are problems with the Affordable Care Act, and while I absolutely would much rather have Medicare for all than the ACA, that being said, getting rid of the bad parts that are there while throwing out the baby with the bathwater, you're going to harm many more people. And then you're going to have the situation as well when people are, if you're going to eliminate, the required things that have to be covered by all insurance plans, like preventive care, like all this other stuff, you're going to end up having situations where the healthy people go buy these cheap-ass plans that don't cover everything, but then the people that are sick or that do eventually get sick are going to have, to be in these high-risk pools, or all of the sick people are going to be in these other plans, and then those plans are going to be removed because they're too pricey, and then more people are going to suffer and die because of it. Because that's basically the Republican health plan, as said by Alan Grayson. Don't get sick, and if you do, die early. And that's what the Republicans support. That's what the Republicans want. So.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Wait, Hedge Enemy's here. Boombastic is here. They call him Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Boombastic. Chad. Kimchi, good to see you. The goddess Kimchi. I see dawn in this dystopian day. It sure seems like it. My neighbor praised me for leaving a note when I hit her car. I thought it was just what you do. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, but unfortunately people don't do what they're supposed to do. Let's see, I have private insurance, and it seems like they're dragging their ass adjudicating my claim for recent surgeries because of this recent thing. That's a damn shame. Remember, it's Romney Care made worse by Republican reshaping it in negotiations, which then they refused to fight for later. But yeah, fight for later, I'm assuming is what you meant. But yeah, it was, because it was the Massachusetts plan. When Hillary Clinton was proposing her idea when she was first lady to push a healthcare plan that would be good for all, the counterproposal pushed by like the Heritage Foundation was Romney Care, which then became Obamacare. So clearly it wasn't the perfect idea, but you don't want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good, but you got rid of a lot of the horrible things that these insurance companies would want to do. So within a decade, the U.S. healthcare will collapse upon itself, pretty much. You cannot trust repukes except McCain, and the party died with him. It was sick. It was sick since at least Reagan. But even if you look at back what Reagan said, like you had the debate between Reagan and George H.W. Bush, and they were talking about somebody asked them if they should be paying for kids' school if the kid is like an undocumented person, and both of them were like, yeah, we should. Because we shouldn't blame the kids for what the parents are doing, and what we instead should fix the systemic issues that make people feel like they have to come here in the first place to try and get it work. Have a working relationship with Mexico to be able to make things in Mexico better so they can have a thriving economy and we can have a thriving economy, and then people don't have to cross. Shocking. Like, not actually dehumanizing individuals who are trying to make it a better life here. So, but even McCain was somewhat fishy simply because of the fact that, Sarah Palin, but, there's that. Thank you, P-Dubs. Good to see you. Thank you for joining the show. Did you ask something about where I was? I don't know. I think I'd seen that somewhere. You said, Jolie, where is Dan? I'm right here. I'm not John Cena. You can see me. Anyway, the Fox was designed to spew propaganda. This hastened the stupidification of America. Yep. Exactly. So normally I rely on the artificial intelligence thing to do this, but I'm going to have to record this myself simply because of the fact that, you know, I want to make sure that this all goes into one video. So, the Olympics have moved to ban trans women and cis female athletes with male levels of testosterone. What? Well, who might have predicted this? Who might have predicted that we're not just going to now go after trans women who are women? And I have a whole fat man rant on this, but specifically in this fat man rant, I predicted exactly this. Let's listen to this part of the fat man rant. You get to see me twice on this shot. Not normally where I do a response video to myself, but here we go. Sports? Of course not. They're not going to want to do that. And also, young men and young women don't have the same number of hormones. Are we going to weed out cis women with unusually high testosterone levels because it's unfair to the other women too? We could manufacture any number of things that might give some folks an unfair advantage in getting sports scholarships. And there you go. Me, in my fat man rant, predicting that not only are they going to go after the trans women, but they're also going to go after other cis women who just happen to have high levels of testosterone. Where's the next stop? I know the slippery slope argument is a logical fallacy, but where do they stop at this point? What else are they going to do to say, oh, these people also have an unfair advantage as compared to other folks? Bigotry doesn't just stop when you just turn your blind eye and let them just be bigoted to some people. Everybody should have predicted that this was going to be the next step, but I did, and there you go. Which is why I need to listen to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Because I predict things correctly. Anyway. Yeah. Absolutely absurd that we have to deal with that kind of shite, as Stephen might say, from across the pond. Of course, well, I should have asked Stephen to say parrot. One of the things that I get a kick out of is when Stephen Ray, because with his Irish accent, he will say pirate and parrot, but both of them sound the same because he'll basically say parrot or parrot. Anyway, see, Kimchi, didn't a cis lady just get harassed because she didn't look feminine enough? That's where it's starting. Yeah, I mean, yes, but even that, my prediction there was before that happened as well. So, Suzanne, we do need you. I love having Suzanne I love having all of you in my audience. We absolutely do need you. So, but I do understand you wanted to go watch Deep Space Nine. So, you know, it's a good show. The AI picked that up last time too, and when they were trying to go through my cuts to share things, they actually went through that as well, which is funny. Oh, I guess I should stop recording this as well. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Kinky Streets, one of my neighbors growing up with was Holocaust survivor Georgine Hyde. She was on a local board of education, total genius. She gave lectures about her Holocaust experience, and obviously her experiences were disgusting. Yeah, one of my teachers was also a Holocaust survivor, but whenever we would go over stuff from the Holocaust, she had to leave the room because she couldn't handle it. See, Roe versus Wade was a compromise with no abortion past 24 weeks unless it was under extreme circumstances. That's why Casey versus Planned Parenthood was also important. But yeah, to me, there's no need to have the exclusions or past 24 weeks because no one's getting abortions past 24 weeks. Like, you don't have this mass horde of people going, hey, we want abortions that even though we're 30 weeks pregnant. It's not people who are getting abortions at 30 weeks pregnant or people who want their kids but who can't because of some medical issue. And, you know, unlike, you know, people who might be like, oh, well, let's allow these people to go treat their condition early so it doesn't create a risk to their health. No, these draconian laws make people have to wait till the problems become drastic before it happens. So, yeah, there's that. Have I covered everything I wanted to talk about? We talked about... Oh, we were going to go see... We were going to look at the redacted emails for a second. Which now, you know, they have 218 votes to release all the files now. Let's go ahead and zoom this in, make it bigger. And come on over here and we can... Jeffrey Epstein to GMAX. I want you to realize that that dog hasn't barked. The dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. I don't know what there means when it comes to that, but I think we basically all know that he knows what was going on with Donald Trump and the victim and was willing to, you know, hide it for his own purposes. Victim, Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. So I guess this JEE vacation at gmail.com was Jeffrey Epstein's email address. Here he claims, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So, yeah. So, no. The whole... If you believe Jeffrey Epstein here, at least... Which I've seen no reason why we don't believe him, because he's talking in private, or he believes he's talking in private. So why would he actually feel like, you know, he would have to lie, especially if he's having a conversation with trusted advisors, etc. But here's to Michael Wolff. From Michael Wolff to Epstein. Let's see. I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in Scrum afterwards. Jeffrey Epstein, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And then Michael Wolff responds, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of a political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So there you go. Jeffrey Epstein clearly knowing and basically saying that, you know, Trump knows, Trump participated, and Michael Wolff says you have enough information on Donald Trump to deal with him, which is why most people believe that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. But the master media manipulator in chief, she says that this, you know, this doesn't indict him at all, that this actually shows that he did nothing wrong, which is why she's a media manipulator, because how does this show anything but him doing wrong things? Right? Right? Anyway. Let's see. Kimchi, there have been a rash of young women lately hiding their pregnancy only to kill the baby. When the shame of abortion is worse than the shame of murder, our culture is in steep decline. Yes, it is. You are correct. Trump and company are putting pressure on Bobo not to sign now. But she already signed. I think they have the 218th signature. I think that's done. I don't think there's anything they can do anymore. Yes, they were trying to convince Bobo the clown to not do it. And that's what, you know, Caroline Leavitt was basically saying, that she wouldn't let us know. In her transparency, she wouldn't let us know what they were talking about in the meeting. So, what else? Even his email is a piss take. Jeffrey Epstein enjoying vacation while he's supposed to be in effing prison. I know Wolf was greedy, but now we know he's Machiavellian. P-Dubs, I'm glad she said no. I don't think Mace is a safe bet. Thanks for telling me, but to say the least, I have not been listening to Wolf, didn't trust him. Very few of the cult will care. Some will be jealous. That's probably a very true statement there, Jeff. Tim, what seems to be lost in all this to me is Michael Wolff is actively advising a child trafficker on how he may escape justice. He is nothing more than an opportunistic grifter. I mean, that's what attorneys, some attorneys do help their clients get away with their crimes, and that's, I don't believe that's legal, but who's going to flip on him? Epstein? Or who was going to flip on him? Epstein? Clearly not. So, anyway, surgery tomorrow. It's fortunately not at 5 o'clock in the morning, like, or I don't have to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning like it was in August for the left knee. But still, I do have things that I have to take care of, especially some post-show things to process some videos and upload them to YouTube. Also, some of the AI stuff to do that as well. And I may have to do 1 or 2 errands before I go to bed tonight, like we're probably going to have the estate sale again this weekend, and I probably have to now go put the signs out with the amended dates and times so that people can know to come to the estate sale, even if I can't be that helpful with it. So 250 kilo ohm, break a leg, you're a machine. I actually told one of my friends who wished me luck on my surgery tomorrow, and I was like, at least you didn't tell me to break a leg. And she was like, well, I guess I missed an opportunity there. So but again, just as a reminder, I will, you know, again, I know how to walk upstairs now when, you know, whatever. I'll obviously spend the first, you know, through Sunday at least, I won't be doing any stair walking, but I have my first physical therapy appointment again Monday at 10. And then afterwards, you know, I will see how I feel. And if I'm able to do a short show, I'll probably do a short show because I want to be able to come upstairs as well and take a shower. But, you know, otherwise, if I'm not doing a show, I will let the mods know. I'll post it all over social media, on Facebook, on Blue Sky, on Twitter, and here on YouTube as well, so you all know what the format of the show will be. But again, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Thank you, Jolie, for buying the book. Again, if you want to buy Stephen Ray's new book, Ozzy and Me, talking about his life knowing Ozzy Osbourne, actually in the Amazon.com show description, even in the show description, I think here that I just copy and pasted, it basically says there's the old adage of never meet your heroes. Well, in this case, that was not true. That he was very glad to have been able to meet his heroes, to meet his hero in Ozzy Osbourne. So thank y'all so much. Appreciate you. We will end the show as always with a few little musical bits. Or there'll be 2 nights in the hospital. No, it's same day surgery. I will be home sometime Thursday morning or afternoon, depending on how long it takes me to get out of get out from being under anesthesia, and also how long it just takes for me to do whatever it is they want me to do, to walk around and you know, do whatever, like go to the bathroom, whatever they want you to do to leave. But I was home relatively soon. Like, I think I was home before 10 when I had to be there for 5. So now that I have to be there for 9, I'll probably be there. I'll probably be home before 3, probably. Anyway, Roxanne heading for Fort Collins, Colorado for laser eye surgery on Friday. Pew pew. Hope your eyes get pew-pewed well and not pew-pewed poorly. But anyway, thank you all so much again. Appreciate y'all. Remember, like, comment, share. With this new AI tool that I'm using, I'm getting a lot more content being pushed out there. So there's going to be more opportunities for the trolls to come along and comment. So there's more opportunities for y'all to harass back at the trolls and basically show them how dumb they are. Of course, always attack the argument, not the person itself, as we all know, but still. Thank you again very much. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Testing was the line that he said. hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. House includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Downtown tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't meet. Hide them away so the cameras can't find it. Proof of a system that's cold and unkind. A chaotic secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fined. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. If you can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still. Just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
Gather round everyone and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really for sugar and cokes. Confronting with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, a hoax. He says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he crooks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump pile debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say I made. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they shout out today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best, cause liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.